And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. I don't know why it's giving me all these issues. So, alright. Welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. I'm Michael Lindenbaum as always, and it's time for some serious hockey talk. So this past week, we had 3 Capitals games. Originally, we were supposed to have a segment for Toronto Maple Leafs writer Steve Gardner, but unfortunately, due to scheduling reasons, we were unable to make that happen on our end. I hope everyone liked that little starting soon graphic that we're using. That is courtesy of our good friend Adam Wyatt. He created that for us. Adam, you and I are going to have to talk about it, though, because apparently it's 3 gigabytes, and that caused some CPU usage issues on the program, which caused me some, I guess, the technical issues to start the episode. So, yeah. But we're live on Twitch. We're live on Facebook Live, so any questions, comments, throw it in there. I have the stream on the phone and on the tablet, so I can look at both at the same time. Knowing Dumb Dixon, he's probably just going to, comment on, one stream that I probably won't pay attention to while I pay attention to the other. But with that, let's get right on to it, starting with the game on October 10th versus the Vegas Golden Knights. For the Vegas Golden Knights, their lineup was Jonathan Marchessault with William Karlsson and Riley Smith, Max Pacioretty with Erik Haula and Thomas Nosek, Ryan Carpenter with Cody Eakin and Oscar Lindberg, and William Carrier with Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and Ryan Reed. Then on defense, they had Shea Theodore, Derek England, Braden McNabb with Colin Miller, John Merrill with Nick Holden, and Marc-Andre Fleury in the net for the Golden Knights. And then for Washington, they had Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Brett Connolly, Jacob Vrana with Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie, Andre Burakovsky with Lars Eller and Chandler Stevenson, Dmitry Yaskin with Nick Dowd and Devontae Smith-Pelly. On D, they had Dmitry Orlov with Matt Niskanen, Michael Kempney with John Carlson, Brooks Orpik with Christian Jews, and Braden Holtby starting in goal. In the first period, you had at 8:40 Brett Connolly being called for tripping. Then at 11:13, Ryan Carpenter would be called for hooking, and then at 18:04, Thomas Nosek would be called for holding. On that second power play opportunity at 19:25, Evgeny Kuznetsov would score the power play goal, his 3rd of the season, from Nicholas Backstrom and John Carlson, their 5th and 3rd of the season, respectively. Caps would be up 1-0 going into the first intermission. Shots were 9-4 in favor of the Caps. Faceoffs were 11-7. Hits were 11-4 in favor of Vegas. And on the power play, Vegas was 0-1, whereas the Caps were 1-2. Analysis, this was a good, fast-paced first period for the Washington Capitals. They were making slick passes and made great breakouts out of their own zone. They played with great hustle, and they drew 2 penalties late in the period, which the second one resulted in a power play goal for them. However, what they need to do is the Caps need to keep pressing on the Golden Knights and make them uncomfortable in their own zone. Also, despite scoring on the second power play opportunity, the Caps need to be better with their possession on the power play, as the first power play, I don't think they executed very well on that one. Then going into the second period, at 10:18, Alex Ovechkin would score his 3rd of the season from Evgeny Kuznetsov and Brett Connolly, both their 2nd of the season. Then at 10:49, Cody Eakin would score his 1st of the season, which would be unassisted. And then at 11:20, Michael Kempney would be called for interference. At the end of the second period, the Caps would be up 2-1. Shots were 20-17 in favor of Vegas. Faceoffs were 24-21 in favor of Vegas. Hits were 22-16 in favor of the Capitals, and the power play, Vegas was 0-2, whereas the Caps were still 1-2. This was a better period for Vegas than it was for the Caps. Vegas doubled up the Capitals on shots 16-8 in the second period and won 17 faceoffs to the Capitals 10 in the period as well. The Caps need to get to playing the way they were in the first period. The Caps need to get back that hustle and continue to outwork Vegas, especially in their own zone. And then 20 seconds into the third period, Colin Miller would be called for slashing. Then at 4:07, Eric Holler would be called for tripping. On that power play, at 5:08, Nicholas Backstrom would score his first of the season, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov and John Carlson, their third and fourth of the season, respectively. Then at 7:08, Riley Smith would score his first of the season for Vegas from Nick Holden and William Carlson. Then at 8:11, Michael Kempney would be called for hooking. Then at 10:33, Alex Ovechkin would score his second of the game and fourth of the season from Evgeny Kuznetsov and Brett Connolly. That would be their fourth and third of the season, respectively, and also their second, Kuznetsov's third and Connolly's second assist of the game. Then at 13:49, Vegas thought they had a goal, but it would be waived after the coach's challenge in regards to offsides. And at 18:05, TJ Oshie would net his fourth of the season with an empty netter assisted by Matt Niskanen and Dmitry Orlov. At the end of the game, the Capitals would go on to win 5-2. Shots were 31-29 in favor of Vegas, face-offs were 38-36 in favor of Vegas, hits were 31-19 in favor of the Capitals, and on the power play, Vegas was 0-3, and the Capitals were 2-4. Overall, good game for the Capitals. They played hard. The second period was not their best period, but the first and the third were their best. They definitely outworked and out-hustled, and most importantly, out-physical. They were more physical than the Vegas Golden Knights in that game. They capitalized their 50% on the power play, which is very good, and overall great game. But then, of course, they go into the next night on October 11th, 2018, as they travel up to the Prudential Center to face the New Jersey Devils. The only real change for the Capitals was that Phoenix Copley would be in goal instead of Braden Holtby. For the Devils, their lineup would feature Taylor Hall with Nico Hischier and Kyle Palmieri, Marcus Johansson with Pavel Zacha and Stefan Noesen, Miles Wood with Travis Zajac and John Quenneville, Blake Coleman with Brian Boyle and John Sebastian D. On defense, they had Mirko Mueller with Sammy Vatanen, Andy Green with Damon Severson, Will Butcher with Ben Lovejoy, and Keith Kincaid in the net for them. Hi there, Karina. Thanks for watching. Then in the first period at 7:02, it would be the Devils striking first as Kyle Palmieri would score his third of the season from Nico Hischier and Taylor Hall. Then at 9:59, Lars Eller would be called for hooking. Then at 12:13, we had a slew of penalties as Miles Wood and Damon Severson of the Devils would both be called for roughing, and Evgeny Kuznetsov would be called for roughing himself. Then at 17:43, John Carlson would be called for hooking. At 18:33 on that power play, Kyle Palmieri would score his second of the game and fourth of the season, assisted by Will Butcher and Travis Zajac. At the end of this period, it would be the Devils 2, the Capitals nothing. Devils outshot the Caps 13-6. Face-offs were 16-7 in favor of the Devils. Hits were 10-7 in favor of the Caps, and on the power play, the Caps were 0-2, and the Devils were 1-2. Just a bad period. It wasn't that great of a period. I mean, they had some good opportunities, but they didn't capitalize on them, and they didn't really do much of anything with their power play either. So it was just kind of a period. And then going into the second period, 47 seconds in, Jacob Vrana gets called for tripping. And then at 2:54, immediately after the penalty expired, Marcus Johansson would score his first of the season from Sammy Vatanen and Mirko Mueller. And then at 10:22, Stefan Noesen would be called for slashing. So the Devils would then be up 3-0 over the Capitals. Shots were 25-11 in favor of the Devils. Faceoffs were 26-12 in favor of the Devils. Hits were 18-14 in favor of the Caps, and the Caps were 0-2 on the power play. And the Devils were 1-3. Yeah, it does. They are 0-2. I wrote that wrong for the first period. How about that? Then going into the third period, it would be 1 minute in, Stefan Noesen would be called for slashing. Then at 22 seconds later, John Carlson would nullify their power play with a tripping call. At 5:49, Blake Coleman would score his first of the season from Ben Lovejoy. Then at 11:35, John Sebastian D would score his first of the season from Brian Boyle at 11:35, and then at 14:45, Brian Boyle would score his first of the season, which would be unassisted. And at 17:52, Damon Severson would be called for slashing. At the end of the game, Devils won 6-0. It was 36-21 in the shots department in favor of the Devils, 37-23 in face-offs for the Devils, 30-19 in favor of the Caps over the Devils, and on the power play, the Caps were 0 for 4, and the Devils were 1 for 4. So, not a good game for the Capitals. It was very piss poor. I know a lot of people want to blame the fact that it was another game right off the bat of a back-to-back. And it's like, here's the thing. You just can't use that as an excuse every time that happens because it's unrealistic. They're professionals. They should be ready to play immediately the next day. It's what they trained to do. So they go, oh, well, it wasn't fair because it was the second game of a back-to-back. Who cares? Yeah, they're a little tired, but they still got to show up to play. And the only guy who, in my opinion, showed up to play for that game was Phoenix Copley. Copley played out of his mind, and he deserves so much better than what he got in that game. So definitely next game for Phoenix Copley, I hope he gets a better result because he definitely earned a better result in that game and he didn't get it because his team in front of him did not put the effort in front of him. Then you had the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Washington Capitals on 10/13. Now again, this is the one where I was originally going to have our Toronto Maple Leafs writer Steve Gardner join in on this. This was going to be a separate segment, but unfortunately due to scheduling conflicts, we weren't able to get him on. But we will get him on again. We will get him on soon to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs just in general because right now they are one of the hottest teams in the NHL, especially scoring wise. But for the there wasn't much change for the Capitals. One of the big changes was that Connolly got put down on the third line. Stevenson went up to the first line. That was really about it in that regards to that. For Toronto, they had Patrick Marleau with Austin Matthews and Kasperi Kapanen, Zach Hyman with John Tavares and Mitch Marner, Par Lindholm with Nazem Kadri and Connor Brown, Josh Livo with Frederick Gauthier and Andreas Johnson. And then you had Morgan Ronda with Ron Hainsey, Jake Gardner with Nikita Zaitsev, and Travis Dermott with Igor Ozhiganov, and then Frederick Anderson in the net. In the first period, the Cavs had a great start. 18 seconds in, Chandler Stevenson scores his first of the season, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov and Alex Ovechkin, their fifth and second of the season. But then 40 seconds into the game, like a mere 22 seconds later, Jacob Rana would be called for hooking. And then at 5:56, Travis Dermott would be called for interference. At the end of the first period, the Caps would be up 1-0. Shots were 10-9 in favor of the Capitals. Faceoffs were 12-7 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 12-4 in favor of the Capitals. And on the power play, both teams were 0 for 1. The Caps got a good start by getting a quick goal 18 seconds into the game. Plus, the Caps are doing a good job of playing the body and making it difficult on the Leafs, especially in their own zone. The Caps need to play better in their own zone and protect the crease area better. The Caps also need to break through Toronto's neutral zone trap and generate some more chances in the offensive zone. One of the biggest reasons I say that is, well, one, the slot area, the Toronto Maple Leafs were getting really good opportunities in that slot area. The Caps are not defending it very well and leaving Braden Holtby exposed in that regards. Also, Toronto, like one of the best things about going into this game that a lot of people thought was, oh, this was going to be a very high-scoring affair. You saw more playoff-style hockey in this game than you did in the earlier games because these are two teams, you have the defending Stanley Cup champions and a team that's really hungry to become the next Stanley Cup champions. So you definitely have to say that you went all in with John Tavares coming to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you're going to have more trap-type plays, especially in the neutral zone. You got to be able to get past that. And that was something that the Caps really needed to do better on. Then, at 3:30 into the second period, Kasperi Kapanen would score his second of the season, assisted by Ron Hainsey and Austin Matthews. Then John Tavares would be called for tripping at 4:17, which on that power play at 4:39, Evgeny Kuznetsov would score his fourth of the season, assisted by Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin, their sixth and third of the season, respectively. Then at 8:22, Lars Eller would be called for slashing. And then at 18:53, Par Lindholm would get his first of the season from Jake Gardner and Connor Brown. At the end of the second period, it would be Toronto 2 and Washington 2. Shots were 19-14 in favor of the Capitals. Faceoffs were 19-16 in favor of the Capitals. Hits were 19-10 in favor of the Caps, and on the power play, the Maple Leafs were 0 for 2, and the Caps were 1 for 2. This was a very good period for the Caps, honestly. They tightened up defensively and capitalized on their lone power play of the period. However, they did give up 2 goals this period and gave up the second one late in the period, which let Toronto back in the game. But also, most importantly, the way Par Lindholm scored that goal was in the crease area. The fact that Par Lindholm was able to get in front of the crease, in a way almost uncontested, and was able to tip in the shot that was coming towards Braden Holtby to get the goal. That's the key that I was talking about going into the second period. The Caps needed to tighten that up. They did tighten up defensively, but that one little lapse right there came back to bite them in the ass. Need to do. The Capitals need to stick to the script and keep on pushing. They're playing good. It's tied 2-2. You don't want to give Toronto an opportunity to get back into this thing. Problem with having all the social media in front of you at the same time. So yeah, they need to stick to the script. They need to keep on pushing. They need to keep making Toronto uncomfortable, and they need to keep creating opportunities to score. 5:47 into the third period, Michael Kempny would be called for high sticking, which on that power play at 6:28, Josh Leivo would score his first of the season from Andreas Johnson and Jake Gardner to give the Maple Leafs a 3-2 lead. And then at 7:44, Nikita Zaitsev would be called for holding. And then 18:21, Austin Matthews would score his 10th of the season from Kasperi Kapanen and Morgan Rielly. The Toronto Maple Leafs would go on to win 4-2. Shots were 28-27 in favor of Toronto. Faceoffs were 26-23 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 28-14 in favor of the Caps, and both teams were 1 for 3 on the power play. Now, of course, you can also read about our thoughts and more about the post-game analysis on our website, txhthockey.com. You can also see Steve's comments throughout the game as well for first, second, and third period and post-game. One of the biggest things I will say is that the biggest thing that killed the Caps in this one was they did not play the third period. They did not start playing the third period until 5 minutes left in the period. And that's not the way to do it. And it ended up coming back and biting the Caps in the ass in this one. If the Capitals, after they gave up that power play goal, came back and was able to charge back and really take it to the Leafs and try to get that tie the game back up, that would have been great. But they didn't do that. Instead, they just stayed on their heels. They let Toronto dictate the pace of the game. And as a result, and this is one of the biggest concerns that I had about the Capitals last season, especially going into the playoffs, is the third period is their worst period. They play great the first 2 periods, or they play great the first and the third period, but they don't play great the second period. And it's like this, against Vegas, it was the first and the third period, which were the great periods, and the second period sucked. And in this period, or this game, you had the first period and the second period being really good, but the third period was just horrible. And it's that type of stuff that killed the Caps, especially against a high-powered team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are also without William Nylander, who's holding out because he wants 8 years for $8 million, which he isn't going to get that contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, so even without William Nylander, this is still a very dangerous team, especially when you look at that lineup that they had in Toronto. Gatorade break, I get to call it. So one of the problems with the weather constantly changing the way it does here in Maryland, it screws up this for me, and I got to go to the doctor soon to get this fixed again. I have to do it every spring and every fall. It sucks because our weather constantly changes. This is just random musings from me while I get ready to do the next segment and allow myself to drink more Gatorade. I like Gatorade. It's good. Anyways, so now it is time for women's hockey. Time to talk about the NWHL. For this one, we had 2 games, both of which were on Saturday, October 13th. The first one, you had the Connecticut Whale visiting the Buffalo Beauts and their home opener. And in her NWHL debut, Buttes goaltender Shannon Sabados stopped all 22 shots she faced to backstop the Buttes to a 7-0 victory. That also features Savannah Harmon, Anika Zelwitsky, and Juliana Iafalo, yes, the sister of the Los Angeles Kings player Ian Iafalo, all scoring their first career goals in the NWHL. The Buttes would also get goals from Maddie Elia, Lisa Chesson, Haley Scamora, and Corinne Bowie as well. So the Buttes would go 2-0 now against the Connecticut Whale to start the season and have a 2-0 record. We're not really going to look at records right away in the start of the season because it's like 2 weeks in. I'm not even looking at records with the NHL teams because it's not even worth the time to do it. Because it's like, season's only like 2 weeks old. I'm not going to stress it yet. We'll start looking at it like November, and start really looking at it then. And then also the later game that night was the Metropolitan Riveters versus the Boston Pride in their season debut. The Pride would get goals from 5 different players to hand the Riveters their 3rd straight loss to start the season. Amanda Kessel would score to give the Riveters the 1-0 lead, but then the Pride would get 5 unanswered goals from McKenna Brand, Dana Trevino, Haley Skorupa, the Rockville, Maryland native, Jillian Dempsey, and Emily Field to get the 5-1 win. Katie Burt would stop 17 of 18 shots faced for the Boston Pride. And then the NWHL Player of the Week for her dominant all-zone performance in the Pride's 5-1 victory over the Riveters, Lexi Bender has been selected as the Veda NWHL Player of the Week. Bender had 2 assists in the Pride's win on Saturday. And I completely forgot to pull this up, so I'm going to pull it up now. NWHL. I completely forgot to pull up their schedule, so I can tell you which games are coming up soon. Schedule. That version. There we go. And then coming up this Saturday, October 20th, myself and Shaggy, we're gonna be in the Prudential Center for the home opener, the banner raising for the Metropolitan Riveters. That game will be Saturday at 2 p.m., and I believe that will be the Twitter game of the week for them. So you can watch that game on Twitter. We will be there live. Hey, Adam, I'm glad you're watching. We need to talk about that opening graphic thing that you gave us. We got to talk about it. I'll explain it after the show, but we got to talk, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Wyatt, he just commented on Facebook. He is the man responsible for that starting soon graphic that was playing before the show started. Big thanks, Adam. I love the look of it, but we got to talk about it because I created an issue at the beginning of the show. Not your fault, though, but we'll talk about it. But anyways, 2 p.m. Saturday, October 20th, Minnesota Whitecaps at the Metropolitan Riveters. Txht will be there. We'll be doing the full-blown coverage on the website like we always do for the Caps games, the Maple Leafs, occasionally the Canadians if it ever comes in. And then eventually soon, like our St. Louis Blues. And I believe, Adam, you're going to be doing some Flyers, maybe? You haven't decided yet? Let me know. And then obviously the New York Rangers when we get some stuff from Russell, which, by the way, tomorrow the Washington Capitals do take on the New York Rangers. So anticipate maybe seeing Russell next week on the show. And then 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 20th, it will be the Connecticut Whale visiting the Boston Pride at Warrior Ice Arena. Connecticut looking to get their first win of the season, whereas Boston's looking to get their second win of the season at home this season. And then on Sunday, October 21st at 3 p.m. at the Barnabas Health Hockey House, you'll have the Minnesota Whitecaps taking on the Metropolitan Riveters once again. So those are the 3 games that are coming up for that will be coming up for the NWHL. For more information on the NWHL, go to nwhl.zone to look up all the information that you need on the NWHL. Also, keep an eye out on our site because we will obviously be doing full-blown coverage. And also, I've been thinking about this. and I want to see if I can work it to the people who do our Patreon page, patreon.com/txhthockey or underscore hockey. I know we've been very quiet on there, and I do apologize. The website has been taking up a lot of time. But we do feel that you should be rewarded for your loyal support still. So one of the things that I am going to try to work on is doing an exclusive Patreon episode live, or not really live, but recorded live at the Prudential Center, where we can get some, maybe Dan Rice, who's been on the show before, or maybe some others, or maybe we can get some players to do the show, and we'll do that as a Patreon exclusive. I'm working on it, so don't take my word for it. I want to do it. It's a matter if we can get it to happen. It's one thing to want to do it, and then another thing to have it not happen. So, NWHL, super excited. I know Shaggy's excited. We were just on the phone before we hopped on the air live. He's excited to be back up there. He was actually at the Connecticut Whales home opener against the Buffalo Buttes a couple weeks ago. So he's excited to be coming back to see some NWHL. I'm excited to go back because I haven't been there since March when we saw the ISBL Cup be awarded to the Metropolitan Riveters when they defeated the Buffalo Buttes 1-0. And I like how Adam, he's not watching now, but he just sent me a text message going, "Let's catch up tomorrow at some point." Yes, we will. Like, I'm just doing the show live, Adam. No big deal or anything. But but yeah, no, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to be up in Newark for that, to do TXHT's first ever true live coverage of the NWHL with the website. So it's going to be really cool to do that. And obviously, I'll have Shaggy running the Twitter account for us, so you can get all the up-to-date stuff live from the Prudential Center. So definitely a big thing for the TXHT. We definitely appreciate the NWHL for allowing us this opportunity as well. It's definitely appreciated. So, next up, and if anyone can hear my father scream, that means the Flyers are playing. Alright, so now it's time to do some NHL news and notes. Starting off with news and notes from October 10th. Austin Matthews had 2 goals and John Tavares had 2 goals each. Recorded multiple goals for the second straight game. The power of the Maple Leafs to victory. Toronto also notched 7 goals in an overtime win at Chicago on Sunday. Scored 7 or more goals in consecutive games for the third time in the past 20 years. Matthews became the 6th Maple Leafs player to score at least 1 goal in each of the franchise's first 4 games of the season. The others are Corb Denny in 1921-22, Babe Dye from 1925-26, Sweeney Schreiner from 1944-45, John Anderson from 1981-82, and Clark MacArthur from 2010-11. Led by multi-goal outings from Joe Pavelski and Evander Kane, who had 2 goals each, the Sharks tallied 8 goals, their highest single game total since October 8th, 2013, when they put up 9 in a victory over the New York Rangers to capture their second win of the season. Erik Karlsson had 2 assists, and Brent Burns had 1 assist as they assisted on Thomas Hertl's goal to become the first pair of former Norris Trophy winners to combine on a goal during a regular season game since Scott Niedermayer and Chris Pronger did on March 31st, 2009 with Anaheim. Let's see here. 5 different skaters scored to help the Hurricanes extend their season opening point streak to 4 games, one shy of the franchise record set by the Whalers in 1995-96. Carolina, which earned an 8-5 win on Sunday, has combined for 13 goals in its last 2 outings, their highest such total in consecutive games since registering an equal amount from April 6th to 2010. Let's see here. Oh, Calvin Pickard put Gritty on his goalie mask, and there's a little kid who has a Gritty Halloween costume. The horrors. Now, moving on to October 11th. Obviously, we talked about the Stanley Cup Finals rematch between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. Um, in that game, Alex Ovechkin scored his 610th and 611th goals of his NHL career to leapfrog Bobby Hull for sole possession of 17th place on the NHL all-time list. Coincidentally, when Ovechkin captured his 7th career Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy in 2007-18, he joined Hull also 7 times, all with Chicago, as the only players in NHL history to finish atop the Leafs goal-scoring race 7 times. Some inside the numbers stuff. We don't really do a lot of this type of stuff, but we'll do it for this one. Since 1927-28, the Stanley Cup champion improved the 51-31-6 in the first regular season meeting between Stanley Cup finalists and runner-up having a 32-40-8 record, including a 5-1-0 mark since 2013-14 when the schedule matrix was changed to include head-to-head matchups between all teams. The reigning champion has won each of the past 4 rematches. Defending champions last won 4 straight rematches from 1957-58 to 1960-61, when the Canadiens did so during their NHL record run of 5 consecutive Stanley Cups. Senators forward Brady Tkachuk, who made his league debut on Monday, scored the first 2 goals of his NHL career. He required the fewest games among his family members to score his first career NHL goal, which, by the way, was with a distinct kicking motion that should not have been allowed as a goal. I watched that replay back, and it was, you could see the foot just go like this. It totally kicking motion. But anyways, fewest games, it was 2 less than his brother Matthew, who took 4 games played, and 3 fewer than his father Keith, with 5 games played. Tkachuk, who's 19 years, 24 days old, became the 4th youngest player in franchise history to score the first goal of his NHL career, behind Alexander Daig on October 9th, 1993, at 18 years, 244 days. Pavel Demitra, October 9th, 1993, at St. Louis, who was 18 years old and 314 days, and Radek Bonk, January 27th, 1995, at Pittsburgh, 19 years old, at 18 days. He also became the 8th teenager in franchise history to record at least 3 points in a game, and first since Erik Karlsson on March 27, 2010 versus Florida. Alright, now we're going to be talking about some sensitive stuff. Austin Watson was originally suspended by the National Hockey League. 27 games for domestic violence. And the National Hockey League announced today that the National Predators for Austin Watson's 27-game suspension issued warrant to Article 18A of the NHLPA. Bargaining agreement has been reduced by arbitrator Shyam Das to a suspension covering the first 18 games of this season. Let's see if this has more for sign-in. They give you the thing so you can read it, like a PDF. That's fine. Michael fixes his login for his press credentials. Oh, that was the statement. I went through all that work just to have that statement. Mazel tov. And then the very next day, the NHL put out a more thorough statement on this, stating, "We have reviewed arbitrator Shyam Das' opinion in the NHLPA's appeal of Austin Watson's suspension for domestic assault, which reduced the league-imposed suspension to 27 games to 18 games. We are disappointed with the arbitrator's decision. We firmly believe that the right of appeal to an arbitrator of league discipline was never intended to substitute the arbitrator's judgment for that of the commissioner, particularly on matters of important league policy and the articulation of acceptable standards of conduct for individuals involved in the National Hockey League. The NHL remains committed to continuing to do what we believe is right. And in this regard, we intend to continue our steadfast efforts to ensure everyone in our league is adequately educated and sensitized to the importance of this serious social issue. We will not hesitate to adhere to and enforce through firm discipline as necessary the standards of personal conduct we feel appropriate for our league. So here's the key thing that people need to know about this. Okay? The league put down, because I keep seeing all the idiots on Twitter and Facebook spouting nonsense, and they need to be told the truth. And that's the fact that the NHL actually did something about the about Austin Watson and what went down. At the end of the day, they actually did something. They gave him a 27-game suspension, which was I believe a quarter of the season, or no, a little more than a quarter of the season. More like a third of the season. So they were going to have the guy sit out for a third of the season because of this matter. An arbitrator that the NHLPA went to reduced the suspension to 18 games, to a little less than a quarter of the season. So this is not on the NHL. While, yes, I agree, the NHL needs to have a code of conduct when it comes to domestic assault situations like the one we had here during the offseason with Austin Watson. But at the same time, the NHL did do something about it. They suspended the guy. They felt that, hey, this was worthy of a suspension for 27 games. The arbitrator decided against that, against the league, might I add. So to everyone saying, oh, the league is a joke, the league is a joke, the fact is, no, the league, in this matter, the league was in the right. The arbitrator was in the wrong. The arbitrator should never reduce the suspension. But because the NHLPA was going to submit it on behalf of Austin Watson, at his request, of course, that's why we had the arbitration hearing on this suspension. In all honesty, in my opinion, it should have stayed at 27 games because the NHL sent the message of this isn't going to be tolerated. Now imagine if Austin Watson did this again. The next suspension could be an entire season because of it. It's like we suspended you for 27 games for a first offense, second offense, or you don't know what the second offense could warrant from the NHL. You also don't know what can also warrant, because keep in mind, let's go back to Slava Voinov, who is not in the NHL, who will, despite what everyone says, will never be back in the NHL, let alone be allowed back in the United States, because he ain't going to get a visa to be able to work in the United States as an NHL player. Slava Voinov brutally beat his wife, and to the point where she was bloody. But because of how, I guess, the culture is in Russia, she would not testify against him because loyalty or whatever reason, or whatever cultural reasons they may have. I've heard things and I'm not going to talk about because if I misrepresent it, I don't want to be that guy who does that. But what the NHL did to Slava Voinov was an automatic, indefinite suspension. When it was pretty much fact that he was pleading guilty for it and that he was going to get deported, terminated the contract. Technically speaking, Slava Voinov is still indefinitely suspended from the NHL for what he did to his wife. That is the NHL right there. The NHL did that to him. So if he did try to come back to the NHL, they would impose more sanctions on him. So please tell me, where is the NHL wrong in this? They lost in a case to an arbitrator, who was also fired by Major League Baseball for reducing Ryan Braun's suspension from I believe 50 games to 18 or something like that. So that's what really happened. You can't go after the NHL on this. The NHL was trying to send a message, but the message got diluted by an arbitrator. Take a look at Slava Voinov. technically speaking, the guy is still suspended indefinitely for beating his wife brutally the way he did. And he probably, and I'm saying it right now, the guy's never going to play in the NHL again. If he does, whoever signs him, he's going to probably face at least another full season before he's even allowed to play in this league. But the other thing is, the guy ain't going to get a visa because he got deported. So, and he has a criminal record now here in the United States, and per the immigration system, you have a criminal record in the United States, you're not allowed back in the country. So Voinov ain't coming back. But that's also the NHL doing that to him too. So, I just want to put that out there because I've been seeing all the comments on Twitter and Facebook about it. You don't know what you're talking about, shut your freaking mouth. Because what I just threw out there, that's the serious truth. So, grow up. News and notes for October 12th. You had a lot of games. The Toronto Maple Leafs quartet of Austin Matthews, Morgan Rielly, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner continued their record-setting start to the season as the club scored at least 5 goals for the 4th consecutive game. Matthews, who has 9 goals, 3 assists for 12 points. Actually, at the time, 9 goals, 3 assists for 12 points. Rielly, 3 goals, 9 assists for 12 points. Tavares, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points. And Marner, 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points. Hold the top 4 spots in league scoring with a combined 44 points. And that's before they went on to take on the Washington Capitals. Now, rookie Elias Pettersson scored the first of 4 unanswered goals to kickstart the Canucks' third period comeback and extend his season-opening point streak to 4 contests. Pettersson, at that point, has 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points through his first 4 career games, tied for second most by a Canucks player. For his first 4 career NHL games, behind Thomas Graydon, who did it back in 1978-79, and only one player in franchise history to start his NHL career with a point streak longer than 4 games, Don Tannehill from 1972-73. Penguins forward Phil Kessel and Blues forward David Perron each recorded hat tricks Thursday to power their clubs to convincing victories at home. And that's about it for that. Also on the 12th, the NHL and NHLPA media release did a media release regarding Florida Panthers' Michael Haley. The National Hockey League's Players Association and NHL announced today that forward Michael Haley of the Florida Panthers will be away from the team while taking part in the NHL-NHLPA Player Assistant Program. No further comment was put out. We are going to respect the privacy, and we're not going to dig. But it's good to see that he's getting the help that he needs, and that's a key thing. Then, for October 13th, Saturday, October 13th, man, 28 teams in action. 14-game day. That was a lot. But the night before, led by Alex Ovechkin and Austin Matthews, the 2 top goal scorers over the past 3 seasons, the Capitals, who have 18 goals for, tied for second, and host the Maple Leafs 25 goals for first in a matchup between 2 of the highest scoring teams. That's going into the game on Saturday because there are no games on Friday. Let's off look back. That was so weird. So then we look at what really happened on the Saturday. Rasmus Dahlin, in his 5th career game, scored his first career NHL goal, which would be the eventual game winner, just 2:45 after the opening faceoff to become the youngest defenseman in franchise history to score a goal. The only Sabres player younger than Dahlin at the time of his first career goal was Pierre Turgeon, who scored his first 2 tallies on October 21st, 1987. At 18 years, 54 days, Rasmus Dahlin is 18 years old, 183 days when he scored games. Maple Leafs defenseman Morgan Rielly collected an assist to boost his totals to 3 goals, 10 assists, 13 points. In 6 games played, he became the 3rd defenseman in NHL history to record at least 13 points for his team's opening 6 games in a season. Duncan Keith skated in his 1,000th game on Saturday. Canucks forward Elias Pettersson, who made his NHL debut on October 3rd, scored to extend his season-opening point streak to 5 contests. becoming the second player in franchise history to record at least 1 point in each of his first 5 career NHL games. Pittsburgh's Evgeny Malkin is the only NHL player to record more points through his first 5 career NHL games. It says 1997, or since 1997-98. Okay. What to say? Like, Malkin was not playing in 1997-98. There's no way in hell that was real. All right. Kyle Palmieri scored 2 goals, which recorded his 3rd multi-goal outing in as many contests to lift the Devils to their 3rd consecutive victory, so 3 straight games, 2-goal games. Palmieri also scored twice on October 6th versus Edmonton at the NHL Global Series, and October 11th versus Washington, to become just the 4th player in NHL history to post multi-goal outings in each of his team's first 3 games to begin a season. Others include Peter Stastny, who had 8 goals in his first 3. Patrick Marleau, 6 goals, but his streak was extended to 4 games. And Cy Denny, 8 goals in his first 3 games in 1917-18, which also his was extended streak to 4 games. Sharks captain Joe Pavelski scored for the 3rd time in 3 contests to reach the 700-point milestone, with 320 goals, 380 assists, equaling the 700, joining Patrick Marleau, who has 1,082 points, and Joe Thornton with 974 as the only players in franchise history who accomplished the feat. Right? And then in your 3 stars of the week for the NHL, you had the 3rd star right winger of the Carolina Hurricanes, Sebastian Aho. Aho also extended his season opening point streak to 6 games, placing 3rd in the NHL with 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points in 3 contests. As the Hurricanes picked up a pair of wins. He collected 1 goal, 1 assist, and 2 points in a 5-3 victory over Vancouver on October 9th. Then matched a career high with 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points, highlighted by his 2nd career overtime goal and a 5-4 triumph against the Minnesota Wild. Next up, you have Toronto Maple Leafs defenseman Morgan Rielly. Rielly posted a league-leading 6 assists and ranked 4th overall with 1 goal, 6 assists with 7 points and 3 outings to help the Maple Leafs also extend their winning streak to 4 games. He established a career high with 4 helpers and a 7-4 victory against Dallas on October 9th. Dixon commenting on Twitch like we expected him to do. Good job, Dixon. Let me take a look at our Facebook live stream real quick because I had to bounce. And he responded on the Facebook Live. Good job, Dixon. And then, of course, your 1st star is center of the Boston Bruins, Patrice Bergeron. Bergeron led the NHL with 4 goals, 5 assists, and 9 points in 3 games as the Bruins registered a perfect week to extend their winning streak to 4 contests. He collected 3 goals and assists for 4 points, including a 4th career hat-trick and the decisive goal in a 6-3 triumph over Ottawa on October 8th. In doing so, Bergeron became the 5th player in Bruins history and first since 1995-96 when Cam Neely did it to record a hat-trick in the team's home opener. Then next up, yesterday it was announced that Florida Panthers defenseman Mike Matheson has been suspended for 2 games without pay for interference and unsportsmanlike conduct against Vancouver Canucks forward Elias Pettersson during NHL game number 64 in Florida on Saturday, October 13th. The NHL player safety announced. The incident occurred at 4:47 of the 3rd period. Under the terms of the CBA and based on his average annual salary, Matheson will forfeit $52,419.36. The money goes to the Players Emergency Assistance Fund. Essentially, okay, yeah, he got upset that he got juked out by Pettersson, who's a younger, faster player than Mike Matheson, and that's completely understandable. And, the initial hit that Matheson does to Pettersson in the boards was completely legal. Shoulder on shoulder, it was clean. But once that puck went away, and then he put his stick between the legs to kind of forklift him and then slam him, that right there, it's not necessary. You don't need to do that. The 2-game suspension is definitely warranted. Elias Pettersson, who's definitely one of the bright spots of the Vancouver Canucks right now, since the Sedins have retired. He was a great bright spot for the team. He's doing great. He has that point streak going for him. but now he's out with concussion. He's out at least 7 to 10 days, which is a very unfortunate thing. And so obviously speedy recovery for Elias Pettersson. We hope he gets back real soon. He's actually fun to watch. I see some of the stuff that he's done, and it's really good. And then the day's morning skate report for yesterday, the Canadiens erupted for 7 goals, extend streak versus Detroit. The Canadiens erupted for 7 goals to earn their 6th consecutive win against the Detroit Red Wings dating back to April 8, 2017, outscoring Detroit 34-14 in those contests. The franchise record for longest regular season win streak against Red Wings is 7 games, set from February 25, 1943 to January 2nd, 1944, and matched from March 27, 2014 to October 17, 2015. Tomas Buchanan in this game also became the 4th player in franchise history to score a goal while skating in the 1,000th game of his NHL career. Buchanan, who in his second stint with the Canadiens after appearing in 17 contests with the Maple Leafs last season, is 17 outings shy of becoming the 6th player to skate in 1,000 career regular season games with Montreal, in which he would join Henry Richard, Larry Robinson, Bob Gainey, John Beliveau, and Claude Provost. On the line of Kasperi Kapanen, Austin Matthews, and Patrick Marleau combined for 3 goals, 2 assists, and 5 points to help the Maple Leafs improve to 6-1-0 this season, including 5 consecutive wins. Toronto, which leads the league with 33 goals for forward in 2018-19, earned at least 6 victories through its first 7 games in a season for the 8th time in franchise history and 2nd time in as many seasons. And all this with William Nylander sitting out and holding out. You know, they might as well just not sign him after December 1st and not let him play and just have him go over to the KHL, because at this point, you don't need him right now. The only thing he is, in my opinion, and I love to have Steve's thought on this, trade bait for a top defenseman, because that's what Toronto's going to need going into the playoffs. Maple Leafs forward Austin Matthews recorded multiple points for the 7th time in as many games this season, has collected at least 1 point in each of his last 17 regular season contests dating back to February 22nd. He became the 5th player in NHL history to record multiple points in each of his team's first 7 games to open a season. Defenseman Maxime Lejeune, age 20, and forward Brady Tkachuk, age 19, scored the first 2 of 4 goals, 4 straight Senators goals to help push the team to their 2nd straight victory and a 3-2-1 record on the season. Also, the Ottawa Senators remember former goalie and fan favorite Ray Emery with a touching tribute to his time with the organization, which you gotta love the reaction from Jason Spezza, who was a former teammate of Emery with Ottawa. Definitely pulls at the heartstrings on that. And that is that for the NHL news and notes. Go back to Facebook. All right. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. So of course, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Experience Hockey Talk, Serious Hockey Talk for serious hockey fans. Follow us on Twitter at TXHT_hockey, Facebook at facebook.com/TXHThockey. And if you're watching on Facebook right now, just hit that like button or follow. You can just follow us too. That works as well. So Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. I'm working on it. I know we've been quiet on there. I apologize. The website takes up so much time. You can ask Dixon. You know, we're learning some new stuff about the website, so I might be able to move some responsibilities off of myself and onto the writers and go, hey, this belongs to your your page, part of the website, so you got to do it. We're gonna work on that later. And then, of course, twitch.tv/TXHT_hockey. If you're watching on Twitch, hit the follow button. We actually did get a follow, and actually, you know what? We're going to give that guy a shout out. USA Flavor is now following us on Twitch. USA Flavor, thanks for the follow here on Twitch. It's going to be a slow build on Twitch. It'll probably be a faster build on Facebook, but Twitch is honestly where we want to be full time because Twitch has more opportunity to grow, and I like the post-production work better. Makes my life easier. So, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, for everything throughout the week between episodes, txhthockey.com, game previews, game recaps, the Daily by Dixon, Toronto Maple Leafs coverage by Steve Gardner, Canadians by Armand, Blues by Arian, Rangers occasionally by Russell, maybe Flyers by Adam, but definitely txhthockey.com. Please check it out every day. Tell your friends. Spam your friends with our website. I apologize to all the Facebook groups that I do it to. I'm so sorry, but we're trying to get the hits up so we can try to get press credentials to Caps so we can meet their analytical nonsense for that. Yes, there's analytical nonsense you have to deal with just to get it. So please click on it like 16 times a day per person. I think we'll be okay. But yeah, txhthockey.com, Twitter, Facebook, all that. It's all linked on the website too. So, but with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching TXHT, Serious Hockey Talk for Serious Hockey fans. My throat's starting to go a little bit. I need to drink something, like drink break when I did during the show. And we will see you on the ice next time.